What happens if you take a completely clueless cannon rusher with absolutely no follow-up and tell him to ninja expand? Exactly, the most abysmal base trade that you will have ever witnessed. You guys will be shocked by what you are about to see. But let's start at the beginning. Dear Captain, Swarm host is Imba. It was a casual morning game and I was doing the only build I was able to execute. A cannon rush. Though my opponent played pool first and pool drones, I still managed to deny his natural and he was forced to take a faraway base. My follow-up was also brilliant. Void Rays from the Proxy Stargate destroyed his second base, making me one base ahead. I was definitely winning at this point, so I decided to end the game with a Charge-Lot Archon High Templar attack. However, his swarm host showed up and began to destroy my base. I counterattacked with my gigantic army in response and left him with only 6 drones. Instead of stepping out, he consistently harassed me with Locust, forcing me to transition to Sky. My carriers killed everything that shoots up, but I still lost the game. Given that I was ahead in every part of the game, I thought there must be something wrong with the game design and balance. Tell me, Captain, is Swarm host Imba? Or do I suck? P.S. I know my macro is sloppy, but I am always able to get away with it if my cannons are doing well. This imbalanced complaint form was sent in by Flawed, a North American Diamond Protoss player at 3900 MMR, asking, are Swarm host imbalanced? Or does he suck? Let's figure it out. My favorite part of that imbalanced complaint form is definitely the PS, I know my macro is sloppy, but usually I win anyway if my cannons are doing well. It's the equivalent if you're going on like a first date and your partner complains like, well, you didn't actually say a single word during the entirety of the first date. And then your rebuttal is, well, I actually find that I am attractive enough that I don't need to speak in order to seal the deal. So actually, this is pretty much on you. I'm a big fan of this logic here by Walt in our 4K MMR, practically 4K MMR Protoss player, who is a little bit of a nasty cannon rusher. I'm very excited for this game. It is not common to see cannon rushes being submitted. Most of the time, people that cannon rush, it sounds weird, but I actually feel like they're mentally quite strong. They often don't complain, probably because they cannon rush every single game and they get complained about majority of the time, you know? They might have been gaslit into believing that the cannon rush is the real problem already, and thus they don't want to complain anymore. This does look like a bad situation. This is a really freaking fast pool. First pylon is going down in a position that is not really considered a good spot either, so this theoretically should already be game over in favor of the Zerg player. Like, this is a cannon rush with a high ground wall as well. It makes it very difficult to expand onto a low ground, going from high ground to low ground in PvZ if you're opening with a cannon rush. Not a fan of that. Ooh, this is quite a nice follow-up wall. This might actually even work. Look at that. Pylon, gateway, full wall. Cannon's gonna go up. He could fill this area up with another pylon as well to completely deny any type of service area. I actually think that maybe there's a spot here as well, so maybe 3 links can attack it. But yeah, you don't really want to try. This cannon is just going to clear everything. Gateway is going to finish up here as well. And now 6 links are making their way across the map. This is an issue. This is something that you do need to deal with. We have a cannon going up, probably going to full wall this, either with the cybernetic score or with the pylon. Okay, so it's going to be the cyber core. So this is going to be full wall. 6 links will not be capable of blasting this. This is a really bad wall, by the way. There is a perfect wall for cannon rush. It's with the pylon over here, then a 3x3 structure towards the top, and another 3x3 structure towards the right. That means that if the pylon ends up falling, roaches still cannot go through. Yes, bailing busts are still something, you'll have to deal with, but it is much better than this. There's a lot of service area here on this pylon, and if the pylon dies, roaches are capable of running by, which is one of the main counters to cannon rush. So seeing a cannon rusher that doesn't have this down is, quite frankly, shocking to me. Proxy pylon is going up. Cybernetic score has finished over here. You have a gateway. Could produce maybe an adept or a stalker with it. So usually when we see this type of cannon rush, where you're canceling your opponent's natural, and you get a proxy gateway, you kind of have to follow it up with a single gate robo or a double gate stalker into Twilight Council, one base blink type of setup. These builds are really freaking strong. They're actually extremely popular even at the highest level. We've seen in the most recent DreamHack Dallas, I think Mana managing to beat Rogue with that twice. So there definitely are some... cannon rushing is popular right now. It is more popular than it has been for the past 6-7 years. Maybe the most popular it has been in Legacy of the Void, if I'm being real honest. But not like this. A gateway over here, a proxy Stargate to the right, while staying on one base and building another gateway at home. I feel like this is a complete misunderstanding of the goals of the cannon rush. This is someone that cannon rushes and then doesn't actually have a follow-up plan. Probably because usually, the cannons are enough anyway. Usually it seals the deal already, but not quite this time. There's really only two types of cannon rushes against Zerg. Cannon rush number one is going to be with a low ground wall, where your goal is to delay your opponent's hatchery, their natural hatchery, from going up, maybe clearing a couple of drones and expanding behind it. That is not what we saw in this game. In this game, we saw the killing cannon rush, a cannon rush that is designed to kill your opponent. You do a high ground wall on your own side, and then you follow it up with cannons, a gateway, sometimes a robotics facility, sometimes a Stargate, and sometimes just a second gate. Your goal is to kill your opponent. If your goal was to deny the natural hatchery, you should have built a low ground wall. Those are really the goals, and right now, the goal is not being achieved. Despite this being a very poor follow-up, I actually do believe that this follow-up is going to be good enough, because the early defense for the Zerg has been so poor that I don't really see a way for the Protoss to lose over here. Protoss is up 6 workers. Protoss is building a proxy nexus, has a proxy Stargate. Like, this base cannot be defended. There's no anti-air here whatsoever. That means that the first Void Ray should just honestly fly over and go and kill it. Yeah, there we go. Void Ray is going to show up. It's going to start shooting at that Overlord. Same time, we have a Link Scout over here, seeing that there's no base. I'm generally not a huge fan of proxying a lot against Zerg. The reason for this, because it's really easy for Zerg to scout. Links are extremely good at scouting, and once Zerg figures out that you have something proxy, they can easily clear it with links as well. Like, it's hard to defend outside bases against Zerg. That's why you often, you expand to your natural, you have a little bit of a wall. Like, without walls, bases are hard to defend pretty much against Zerg. That's the reality of things. And proxying stuff at different locations usually just increases the risk of your stuff being found. And majority of the time, when one of your proxies gets spotted, they will continue looking for more proxies, because people that proxy is usually like a pattern. You don't proxy once. It's like a compulsive type of behavior, way more than anything else. You scout one Void Ray. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be many Void Rays, but you scout one proxy. Majority of the time, there is going to be another proxy on the map, or at least you want to make sure that it ain't happening. The follow-up here for Happy First, our Zerg player, is extremely piss poor. He's going to go 1 base, 3 queen, spore, 15 larva into Swarm Host with this infestation pit. We don't have a Nidus yet, so I guess he's just going to walk them across the map. Okay, here comes the Nidus network. Okay, I guess he can Nidus them across. Theoretically, this game is already completely over, right? We have a couple of Void Rays out. 2 Void Rays that are out can defend both the outside bases. Everything can be cleared with these Void Rays. There is not enough anti-air really to deal with these Voids. If you get a Nidus and you get 3 queens there, you probably will be capable of holding the Nidus at least, but you can't really push into areas whatsoever. And the only thing that Walled In is really missing, well, he's missing a lot of things. For example, Warp Gate would have been a fairly valuable upgrade to get at this point, especially if you're going into higher gateway count. But the only thing he's really missing is like some scouting information, figuring out what is going on. He knows there's a lair. He hasn't seen anything yet. Imagine 12 Mutas were to pop out right now. Theoretically possible. 12 Mutas would probably just straight up win the game. There's no defenses here whatsoever. It would kill at least all of the bases, and that would be it. If there would be 15, 16 Hydra showing up right now, I honestly also think this would be game. So it's a weird situation where Walled-In has won, but because his macro and his scouting is so extremely bad, he is still vulnerable to anything that could be hitting from a 7-minute one-base lair timing, which is obviously not really a thing. And in a way, the Swarmos is actually the worst option because it's not a unit that consistently attacks. Like, these Swarmos, like I said, they could be anything else right now, and as long as there's some type of anti-air attack, it would just kill Walled-In, or at least kill one of his bases. Guaranteed. Now, the Swarmos actually is one of the weaker setups. We have a bunch of drones and overlords just kind of sprawled around the base. Okay, I was wondering where the first IODIS was going to go. It's going to go right next to the main. I guess Happy First is not aware yet of the fact that there is indeed a hidden nexus over here. This IODIS is about to pop. We're going to have 8, 9, 10 swarm hosts. They're going to pop out. No range upgrades. Actually, no upgrades for either player. And here we go. Swarmos go in. Base goes down. This is the way that it works. If you have 10 Swarmos and you get what... Well, I guess in this case it was just 16 locusts. But if you get 16 locusts, you should be capable of just right-clicking this Nexus, and the Nexus will most likely die. Adept is being sent back home, probably with a big F2 move. Double Void Ray is now showing up as well. That's going to be the end of this Nexus. And the Void Rays can't even really clear this. So, yeah, this base is absolute toast. Now, of course, Walled-In is theoretically still in a fine spot. He has a pretty decent work count. Managed to teleport some of the workers over to this base. Can just re-expand either to this, or this. Or even go back into the main base. Probably also be allowed. We have a lot of gateways. 7 gateways. Charge is done. Templar Archives is done with Storm. So, once again, just like 2-3 Zealots to clear this IODIS would probably be good enough. Instead, Walled-In is just floating 1900 minerals and about 400 gas. Is moving over towards the right side to now build a Nexus on the other side of the map. Stargate is not active. This gateway hasn't achieved anything quite yet either, as Swarmhost priority is going to be to clear this outpost. I think this is a mistake. Like, it's not really that important to clear this gate and this cannon because it doesn't really stop you from doing anything. I guess he wants to expand. I guess it does stop him from expanding, but probably could have done it with just 6 Swarmhost. And there's a Neil Nidus up here. We still have this random drone. Walled-In is just not doing anything. Like, one of the really cool things is that every single time a Swarmhost wave hits you, you know nothing is going to hit you for the next, like 40 seconds or so. So you have a lot of time where you can pretty freely move across the map. And in general, against Swarmhost, one of the big ways to deal with it is by actually engaging with the unit. And when I say engaging with the unit, I don't mean fight the Locust, but, just throw a stick at it, see if you can get it angry, shoot the Locust, and then you run away. Locusts aren't that fast. They're not good at chasing. You can force the Locust wave defensively, you run away, you've done a good job, and you go back again once the Locust expire. That is the main way that people deal with it. There's a good reason why we're not seeing Swarmhost at the highest level, and that reason is because Blink Stalker builds are so common. Blink Stalkers get a lot of map control for the Protoss players, and with that map control, it's impossible for the Swarmhost to ever really get across.
Are we really glossing over the fact that out of all the available bases to put your vulnerable expansion, including high-tier, expensive tech, he chose to run right next to his opponent instead of way safer options?
Now, with the Nidus, of course, it's a different story, but Walled-In has a big enough army that it shouldn't really matter. He should be capable of just forcing big Swarmhost wave defensively, and all of his buildings hopefully should be safe over here. Now this forge is going to get taken out. We still have no upgrades for either player here, by the way. Not a single upgrade here for either player. As another fat Swarmhost wave is going to hit this. We're currently at 18 Swarmhost, 6 Queens. 2 base versus 1 base, still in favor of the Protoss player. Although I guess there's technically a second base here, it's just not mining by a whole lot. Spines are going to get taken out here, and this base is going to be toast. This move could have been done about 4 minutes ago, by the way, and it could have been into the main base. Now here comes a Locust wave, does get spotted. Storm is available, so can probably just storm these Locusts and be fine. Could also just run away and probably be fine. But I don't mind just storming this and clearing this base. Actually going to go into the main instead. It does feel a little bit scary. Okay, here comes the Locust wave. Storm's not really raining down on top of the Locust. Locust actually dealing a lot of damage. Instead, he's gonna be storming the units with a lot of HP. Drones are gonna go down, but he also loses his entire army. This is kind of a weird approach to it, where he could have just waited until the locust disappeared or killed the locust and then killed everything for free, but instead he decided to go for the big fat units. He wanted to cut off the head of the snake, which is understandable and often is the correct way of dealing with this type of stuff. But if the snake is actively biting you, you know, if there's 20 snakes, you're just going for the heads, maybe it's better to just run away from the 20 snakes first. You know, wait until they fall asleep and then you go. That would be my suggestion. I've never really fought any snakes before or actively thought about it, but it's... Do snakes sleep? Do they keep their eyes closed when they sleep? I bet they do. I bet they do. Something I could Google. Something you guys could Google. Look at this. Snakes are asleep, you smash them with the zealots. That is the way you should be doing it. This 5 zealot army has killed more swarm host than the 7 Templar, 4 Archon, 12 zealots that we had earlier. Because the earlier army killed nothing, and this army killed what? At least 3 or 4. It's kind of painful. Fleet Beacon is now being proxied on a base that had already been taken out. I'm not entirely sure about that. Stargate could still build Tempest, Carrier, Mothership could be added into the mix as well. Zealot Warpin is coming in. It's actually going to run away from the Locust, which is 100% the correct call. Okay, we have a new base that's being taken on the top side. It is still 39 workers to 6, by the way. So even like long distance mining is pretty much going to be better than whatever the Zerg player has mining wise. Zealot's moving towards the top. Crease spread actually continues. This is one of these really funny things to me, is that crease spread right now shouldn't be... I was gonna say it shouldn't be a priority, but it shouldn't even be on the priority list. Like, it is such a low-level priority that you don't even really want to be thinking about it. You don't even want to spend the time writing it. Like, no one cares about creep spread in a game like this, especially not creep spread near the Nidus worms. But it's the one thing that Happy First actually put a lot of effort in. He's going to save this Nidus barely. He's going to force these zealots away. And this is honestly what Walden should have been doing a long time. Like, he's winning a lot of time with these types of moves. As he's rebuilding his fleet beacon now at his initial proxy base. His main, or it's not really his main, his first proxy base is pretty much running out, by the way. Only has 4 patches remaining. Gas are about half empty as well. A couple of roaches have been constructed, and the zealots are just going to fight that and are going to clear those. Neither player still has any upgrades, which is also an interesting concept. A very interesting concept. Triple Swarmhost harass coming in is going to clear a bunch of these probes, and the first carrier now starts. This is one of these things where... this probably could have been done like 5 minutes ago if you wanted to. It's not necessary, but...
Are we really also glossing over the fact that he calls building a single carrier from a leftover proxy gate while on effectively 10 mining probes transitioning into air? Am I the only one seeing this?
Hey, I don't remember paying you to be a smartass. Back to the editing trick. I often feel like at lower level, there are certain units or certain type of units that are really hard to deal with. And an easy way to deal with it is just to build a unit they can't attack, right? So I often see this with lurkers as well. Like a very solid way of dealing with lurkers is just getting a lot of immortals out and getting a lot of Templar out and then setting up a good engagement and killing it. You know, it's a very convenient, like a very good way of dealing with it, but it's not so convenient for lower level players. For a low level player, you know, if you're playing against 25 lurkers, just getting 6 carriers, that is a very good solution, because with 6 carriers, you can A-move them, you can move command them into lurkers. It doesn't matter because the lurkers don't shoot up. You can't lose anymore once you hit a certain amount of carriers and your opponent only has lurkers. I often feel the same with swarm hosts. Like, the best response against swarm hosts is just being very active against them and knowing where the locusts are, knowing where the swarm hosts are, like storming the locust if they're attacking a base, but otherwise just continuously forcing out these waves. However, that is difficult, and if you're struggling with that, a great solution is just, spamming out some carriers, get those interceptors going. Hell yeah. I'm a huge fan of these types of simple solutions for relatively difficult problems or difficult to deal with problems. So I think this is a good call, despite this not being an accurate call. I think for this level, I love this. Absolutely, I do. And with those carriers ready, the most chaotic portion of this game will start. I tried capturing this all during the live recording, but Harstem of the past failed. I had to actually rewatch the replay 3 or 4 times to truly understand how god-awful these last 5 minutes of this game were played. Like, this is a work of art in being terrible. This is one of the highest levels of sucking that I have seen in my entire career. The funny thing is that it actually starts out quite well. He flies in with the carriers, targets down the queens, targets down the spores, and kills all the anti-air that will be in this game. Not just for now, but for the remaining 5 minutes of the game. Not a single unit from here on out will be capable of shooting up. Now, one would say that that is a big advantage if you are base trading. However, if you never engage with your opponent's army, and rather than killing the swarmos and roaches that are just running around clearing buildings, you go and kill a nidus worm, a lair, a spawning pool, a roach warren, and an infestation pit, rather than defending your last nexus, then Zerg doesn't even really miss the ability to shoot up, because you're too dumb to straight up engage with the army that can't fight you. Then stuff like this can happen. If you are straight up too dumb to engage with your opponent's army, you can find yourself in the situation where all of a sudden you don't have cash anymore for a nexus and you're forced into hiding assimilators and pylons across the map. While the roaches are killing gateways and the swarm hosts are looking for the Stargate to clear, what is Carrier Man up to? Oh, look at that. The big priority of making sure that these larvae will never produce anything ever again. After majority of the larvae have been blasted, finally a carrier is going to show up to kill 2 roaches. Good job, Mr. Carrier. Time for you to rest and retire in the bottom left corner. 2 more carriers show up, but they're a little bit too late. They don't quite know where the roaches went. At the same time, we have the swarmos about to clear a pylon here. Hatchery is being spotted as well. And Carrier Man is going to send both of his carriers to the top right over here. Meanwhile, Walled In still has 1 carrier in the bottom right as well, clearing this infestation pit. Roaches, meanwhile, are fighting these probes as 2 drones are taking care of the assimilator. You can notice that every single unit that Happy First has is at least trying to do something useful. Maybe he's not being as effective or as efficient as he could, but he at least is trying his absolute best. Meanwhile, Walled In, what do we have? Carrier in the bottom left, idling. Pylon is being added in over here, but he is swiftly losing all of his buildings right now. Roaches just continue right-clicking every single building that is there, as Happy First seems to be extremely aware of what is important, and trust me, those overlords currently aren't really a priority for any of them. Happy First is just happy to keep these carriers busy for as long as humanly possible. Swarmholes show up, will clear this assimilator. Roaches clear this assimilator. This pylon has gone down, and that means that the only structure remaining right now is going to be this little pylon here in the bottom left. Surely Walled In is going to make sure that none of these units that are walking towards it will be capable of dealing any damage, right? Every carrier should be getting pulled right now towards that bottom left to defend against the last units that are there. No. 2 out of the 4 carriers will be moving towards the top right. 1 carrier will be idling in the top left. And 1 carrier accidentally is still there because he was retired from earlier on. This is like attacking a retired home and then having a dude that used to be in the military showing up. This is an accident, okay?
Shut the fuck up. Let me die in peace.
This is an accident. This is not on purpose. And just like that, the game ends. GG. Well, no GG gets called because the win condition just gets met by killing this pylon. This is a very confusing game. The cannon rush was good, as in it was good enough. Like, it was not good in the sense of the word that this is going to beat anyone that is very high level. But for this level, at 4k MMR, apparently this is a good enough execution to get you into a practically unlosable position. And that is really all you want to achieve with a cannon rush. And that is what was achieved. So I'm not even going to flame the cannon rush, despite its obvious flaws in there. What I am gonna flame you for is the entire follow-up. The Proxy Stargate, once again, I think is not good, but it worked. So even that is like, I'm okay with it. You managed to get yourself into a situation where you're 2 base versus 1 base. You have complete air control. You're fine, but then your macro follow-up is really sloppy. You don't get Warp Gate for an extremely long time. Your unit composition is not correct in any way, shape, or form. It probably should be Blink Stalkers if you're trying to play optimal, but if you're just trying to go for a counter, it definitely should be air. And you realize that way too late. You have way too much cash in the bank. You allow your opponent to kill all of your buildings all the time. And then even in the end, when you have 4 carriers against a pure ground army, you completely forget to kill the ground army. And instead you're just running around with carriers most of the time, chasing overlords or chasing units that aren't there anymore. So is the swarm host imbalanced? No. Did you suck? Yes. You sucked. That's the way it is. All right, it's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Is It Imba or Do I Suck? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and be sure to submit your own imbalance complaint form by using the form in the description. Thanks.